If Jeff Zucker read Stop Simping in the Workplace, he'd still have his job right now.
Now available for the first time in paperback. Stop Simping in the Workplace. Men, learn what you need to know in order to protect your job from workplace predators with Stop Simping in the Workplace. Available in paperback at online booksellers everywhere.
CNN President Jeff Zucker recently resigned over a consensual relationship with a key employee. Now, according to your CNN's policy, a person who wasn't supposed to be involved in a relationship with a coworker was supposed to reveal that relationship to senior executives. However, your CNN's Jeff Zucker did not disclose this relationship, and this really showed how the culture of compromise really tarnished the overall network. Now, CNN has really been having issues as related to its journalistic integrity, and it's clear that this was a culture fostered by Jeff Zucker, who was not practicing ethical behavior in his professional relationships with his coworkers. And because he was not practicing ethical behavior with his coworkers, this fostered a culture of unethical behavior that compromised the whole journalistic integrity of CNN. Because if the person at the top is not following the ethical standards as related to corporate policy, then the people working under him will believe that they have a right to go out here and be just as immoral as their boss. So we see there that the pattern of ethical compromise started with Jeff Zucker, and this is why employees like Chris Cuomo thought it was okay to go out here and share information with his brother, Governor Andrew Cuomo, who was being investigated as related to allegations of sexual harassment, a complete compromise of journalistic integrity, and a complete violation of the unwritten rules as related to journalism. And it was also the reason why a journalist like a Don Lemon thought it was okay to go out here and share information with Jussie Smollett as related to his investigation into the filing of a false police report. So we clearly see that there was a clear culture as related to compromising journalistic ethics, and this all started at the top with your Jeff Zucker. Now, what really makes your Jeff Zucker's legacy at CNN look bad is the fact that he practically tarnished this network with his just complete lack of ethics. Now, your CNN wasn't the greatest news network on cable television, but Jeff Zucker practically brought it down to the level of a tabloid, because most of the so-called news on CNN went from being somewhat objective before him to practically becoming a platform for your leftists to present not news based on objective fact, but nothing but propaganda. And that is the legacy that your Jeff Zucker left at CNN, and this has practically tarnished the network, which has practically gone down from having millions of viewers to the level of a prominent YouTube channel like a PewDiePie or a Toxic Tears or a Black Friday. These days, CNN gets less views than many of the top YouTube channels, and that is all due to Jeff Zucker's complete mismanagement of the network and his complete lack of ethics as related to presenting journalism. Now, your Jeff Zucker, as I see it, really was not qualified to run CNN after previously running NBC back in the 90s. Now, back in the 90s, Jeff Zucker took over for the late Brandon Tartikoff and gave us the must-see TV era of the 90s. And what's really troubling is that some people thought that because he made NBC a success, that would make him a good fit for running CNN. And that wasn't the right call, as I see it, because a TV executive is one of the most unethical people in some cases to run things, and they don't really have a sense of understanding about concepts like journalistic integrity. And this is why CNN's whole tone completely changed, and CNN went from a cable news network to a far left propaganda network. Now, some would say that this is karma for Jeff Zucker for two reasons. One, it's karma for Jeff Zucker because your Jeff Zucker was one of those guys running CNN, and CNN pushed heavy narratives that went to demonize Bill Cosby. Now, this whole demonization process is possibly as related to an alleged grudge that Zucker had because Bill Cosby wanted to buy NBC, and Zucker was running NBC at the time that Bill Cosby was proposing the purchase. Now, Bill Cosby only wanted to purchase NBC because he had practically saved the network back in the 1980s with The Cosby Show, and NBC was this close to going bankrupt. And Bill Cosby wanted to build a network for black Americans, and your Jeff Zucker took umbrage with this, and what he did was he got really angry about Bill Cosby wanting to purchase NBC, and in retaliation, as related to some reports that are alleged, he went out here and waged a campaign against Bill Cosby, trying to demonize his reputation and tarnish his legacy by making these numerous reports of the alleged sexual assaults that they were alleged against Mr. Cosby, in an effort to tarnish Mr. Cosby's name and make it look like Bill Cosby was some sort of sexual deviant. These kind of stories ran heavy on your CNN as related to Bill Cosby and many other black alleged perpetrators as the Me Too movement went on making its allegations. But what's really interesting here is the hypocrisy of Jeff Zucker and the people at CNN. Many of these white guys, they were out here making allegations against black men like Bill Cosby and Cuba Gooding Jr. as related to these allegations of sexual harassment and sexual assault. But in actuality, these same men were participating in the exact same behaviors and fostering the exact same culture at CNN. So many of these people who were making the reports against Bill Cosby and many other black men, they were sitting there making these allegations saying, oh, Bill Cosby was participating in all sorts of acts of sexual harassment and sexual assault. But meanwhile, we had a whole culture at CNN with Jeff Zucker having his own workplace side piece. We had your Chris Cuomo participating in sexual harassment, and all of these behaviors going on at CNN. And again, it just shows the hypocrisy that was going on with this cable news network, which waged a campaign to demonize Bill Cosby, who was having consensual relationships with many of the women who made allegations against him. He was not out here committing any sort of crime, but your Jeff Zucker at CNN wanted to go out here and make your Bill Cosby the poster child for Me Too, and wanted to demonize Bill Cosby's name and tarnish Bill Cosby's legacy. And what's really, again, karma here, as he's reaping what he sowed, is now Jeff Zucker's very same reputation is being tarnished in the exact same way he tried to tarnish Bill Cosby's. And now Bill Cosby has been cleared by the Pennsylvania Supreme Court and has been cleared of all of the criminal charges, but your Jeff Zucker's reputation has practically been tarnished at this point, and everyone now sees him not as the big-time executive he was back in the 90s when he was running NBC. No, they now see him as the man who practically destroyed CNN. And what's looking like here as related to him resigning is not just this consensual relationship. It's looking like your Discovery, which just bought all of Warner Brothers property, is looking like they're trying to do what I said that they should have done, and that is clean house. Now, your Discovery recently bought all of the properties from Warner Brothers and as related to the AT&T merger. And what Discovery looks like it's doing is they are getting ready to clean house because CNN is ethically compromised. It is not a network that presents objective journalism. It is not a network that presents objective facts. And what that shows in much of the slanted reporting that they have presented on their platform. And this is why your Discovery, I believe, is going out here. And I believe they pushed Jeff Zucker out of this position because they wanted to take the CNN network into a new direction. Because with ratings at lower than YouTube channels, this is embarrassing for a network, and it just lowers the value of a wealth building asset that they think CNN could be. But this is again your Jeff Zucker practically reaping what he sowed, later than he sowed, greater than he sowed. And this is a bitter harvest for your Jeff Zucker because he went out here and again had a grudge against Bill Cosby, went on to try to demonize Bill Cosby, threw in with these white feminists in the Me Too movement, and went out here and waged a campaign against black men. And now he's being exposed for being a hypocrite, like many of the white men out here were, who were talking about supporting the Me Too movement. Many of these same men out here participated in all of these acts of sexual harassment and were having relationships in the workplace. And they were sitting there going out here again condemning Bill Cosby for the things that they were doing themselves, showing us all the hypocrisy that they participated in. And this whole situation again is your Jeff Zucker reaping what he sowed, later than he sowed, greater than he sowed, and leaving CNN in an ignominious fashion. And he wanted this to be the final fate for Bill Cosby, but this is now the final fate for himself, an ignominious end to a long career, and one that just shows how things can wind up becoming a reversal of fortune when you least expect it. Now, if you want to see me make more videos like this, you can donate to my Patreon, my PayPal, or my Cash App by clicking the links in the description box. And if you want to pick up some of my books on the SJS Direct imprint, like Stop Simping in the Workplace, you can find those books on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. You can also find them on Smashwords, the iBookstore, and Google Play. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe.
Now available in paperback and Kindle, Stop Simping in Cyberspace. Learn how to avoid predatory females like Instagram models and e-girls in their virtual con games with Stop Simping in Cyberspace. Get your copy of Stop Simping in Cyberspace in paperback and Kindle today.